நம் வாழ்வில் ஒன்றாய் சேர்க்கிறது. வித்யாலட்சுமி வருகையன்று வீணை மீட்டே பாடுவோம். நித்தமும் அவள் புகழை போற்றி நர்த்தனங்கள் ஆடுவோம். வித்யாலட்சுமி வருகையன்று வீணை மீட்டே பாடுவோம். நித்தமும் அவள் புகழை போற்றி நர்த்தனங்கள் ஆடுவோம். வித்யாலட்சுமி வருகையன்று வீணை மீட்டே பாடுவோம். நித்தமும் அவள் புகழை போற்றி நர்த்தனங்கள் ஆடுவோம். கலைகள் வாழும் இடமெல்லாம் இந்த அலைமகள் நடம் புரிகிறாள். அலைமகள் நடம் புரிகிறாள். அலைமகள் நடம் புரிகிறாள்.
Thank you, Gunamita. I invite Ms. S. Sugumari, Assistant Professor of English, to deliver the welcome address.
A warm greeting to everyone present here. On behalf of the Department of English, Congo Arts and Science College, Autonomous Erode, I proudly welcome our chief guest, a person with vision and mission, Dr. G. Swarnalakshmi, Professor and Head, School of Distance Education, the English and Foreign Language University, Hyderabad. Welcome, ma'am. I warmly and respectfully welcome our head of the department, who have been the pillar behind this program. Welcome, ma'am. I feel happy to welcome my dear colleagues and my dear volunteers who have been the backbone of this occasion. I extend my hearty welcome to the esteemed participants from various reputed institutions to add radiance to the occasion. Once again, I welcome you all.
Thank you, ma'am. Biosketch of our distinguished resource person, Dr. G. Swarnalakshmi, has to her credit triple UG degrees, BA English, History and Politics, which she obtained from Andhra University, Visakhapatnam, MA Language and Literature in Acharya Nagarjuna University, Guntur, PG Diploma in Teaching of English in Central Institute of English and Foreign Languages, Hyderabad, PG Diploma in Business Management in the University of Hyderabad, MPhil in ELT from the Central Institute of English and Foreign Languages, PhD from the English and Foreign Languages University, Hyderabad, postdoctoral fellowship in Osmania University, Hyderabad. She has published many journals and has contributed chapters in books and has also co-authored books which are prescribed in various universities. At present, she is guiding 6 research scholars and she has received many awards, and to mention a few, the Merit Scholarship Award, Best Paper Presenter Award, and the Best Trainer in Soft Skills Award. We feel honored to have you as the resource person, ma'am, for this valedictory function. Now I hand over the session to the to the esteemed guest of the day, Dr. G. Swarnalakshmi. Ma'am, please.
Thank you, Ms. Anita. I thank the organizers of this faculty development program to have chosen me to be part of this training session. However, let me also admit in the beginning of the session itself that I am not from the literature background, as you must have heard from Dr. Anita introducing me. I am a person from applied linguistics, primarily English language education. So my aspect that I will be taking over or making you walk through in the today's session will be from a language teacher's perspective. Of course, teaching of literary texts, not talking about language aspects. I will be making you go through different parts of, I will introduce you to 3 different tools that can help you teach literature in a better way to your students. With this, let me begin. Am I given the rights to share my screen? Yes, right. So is my screen visible to all of you? Okay.
Not it, ma'am. Yeah, now it's visible, ma'am.
Okay, thank you. Yes, we will be talking about different ways of teaching literature virtually. I'm sure all of you are given good inputs from various resource persons in the past 5 days of the workshop. And today, because of the time constraints, I'll be confining myself to only 3 different digital tools and how it can be used, how these 3 can be used to teach literature. Before we go into the actual I would like all of you to respond to this major question that will lead us to the discussion that comes in the next slides and in the next part of our session. Yeah, I'm giving you a link to in the chat box so that you can respond to a question that I post there to generally discuss what exactly goes into teaching of literature to your students. This I can also share on the screen. You can type menti.com, and after you, whether it is a laptop or your mobile, it's the same. You can just type menti.com and you get a box that asks for a code. The code is 1665949. Menti.com 1665949. If you could respond to this question in a word or two, in a phrase, I'll be very happy. You can give 2-3 different answers to this question. Great, I see about 14-15 people to be responding to this. Okay, primarily, I see most of the teachers wish to read the text and of course, when you read, you also will be paraphrasing it or explaining it to your students. Some of you said you would like to introduce the author. Some of you also were talking about using technological tools or digital tools. Couple of you are talking about enacting, mind map, textuality approach, literary age, displaying the text, discussion in the classroom, elaborate the text, read aloud, main aspects, making the students read, using PowerPoint presentations, explanation, discussion. Great. So primarily it is videos, presentation and reading that seem to be part of your classrooms. Okay, a couple of you also said it is literary age that is important to discuss. Genre is also discussed and audiovisual aids are being used. Spend more time on reading rather than discussions. Reading aloud the text, analogies, wow, introduction to the author, so on. Right. Thank you so much. I could get the responses from 27 respondents. Can we wait for 1 or 2 more minutes? Lecturing, summarizing, giving examples, explaining, analogies, talking about the author, reading aloud, phrases, meaning, main aspects, feel, mode or tenor, comparing it with history, pragmatic approach, okay, let me get at least 1/4. Wow, if it is 1/4, it needs to reach 50. The number of participants is really high. I appreciate the organizers. To have mobilized so many people to be part of your faculty development program for such a long time. 5 days, I should say, 6 days, I should say, is a real long time. Okay, so as at least 25% of our participants are talking about, prime thing that we do in the classroom is to read the text, use videos, presentations, use PowerPoint presentation. Just 1 more minute. Let's see if somebody else is responding to this. Okay. Great, thank you. Still reading remains to be major part, and videos, presentations, explanations, use audio text, lecture method, enacting, aesthetic appreciation, dramatic analysis. Okay, thanks a lot. This seems to be a very interesting kind of output by many of you. Now, let's look at why we teach literature, and from there we'll be talking about your responses to my question. The prime is my slide visible? Is my screen visible?
Yes, ma'am, it's visible.
Thank you. The prime objective of reading, teaching any literary text, apart from these, it could be objectives of teaching literature, but the prime ones which I have identified after talking to a couple of teachers who teach literature at different levels. This is my understanding. Literature provides another avenue for this simple practice. This is to hone those important skills. What are these important skills? These are life skills. These are language skills. Language which includes listening, speaking, reading, writing. It also includes vocabulary and grammar. What we as language teachers primarily promote as, that is not the overt kind of learning, but an implicit learning of the language happens when you're engaged with the text. How do you get engaged with the text? Primarily when the story is very gripping, the student automatically starts reading and forgets that, okay, these are new words that I didn't come across till now. This is a sentence structure. Maybe this is how I need to pronounce the name of this particular character. All these are something which the reader almost ignores and forgets in fact, and gets involved and engaged with the text. That engaging with the text and processing the text cognitively will make the learner understand the text better and have or mix the text information with the learner's previous experiences and knowledge, and helps reconstruct the text. So this is a process that happens when you teach any literary text to any age child or student. It also helps the learners to know or understand how the world works, and it develops empathy. You start looking at things from the eye that is shown to you. The eye you start looking at the text or the situation is from the character's eye or from the author's eye. So what is given to you, what you visualize in front of you, is not exactly what your brain shows you, but what exactly the author wants you to see. That is the beauty of a literary text. And understand the complex dynamics of human relationships and life in the rest of the world. This is something like breaking the boundaries, breaching the boundaries, and going across. You read an African novel, you read an American novel, you read a South American novel, you read an Australian novel. You get to understand the texts, the literary texts that are being produced in different parts of the world will really help you understand the culture, the culture and the context in which the text is being built. For example, when we want to watch movies of Shakespearean drama, we imagine the kind of costumes they were wearing, the actual attire of the people at that particular point of time. We start imagining the characters, we start imagining, starting from the hairstyle to the, from top to toe, everything that the people used to live there in that time is something which we start visualizing, we see, we understand. So how is a world presented at that particular point of time is also understood by the readers. And if that you're not able to successfully build in front of the reader's eyes, then the author is not a successful person. Develop an appreciation for the form of the art and it is also the merit and meaning of literary texts. For example, when we, after 400 plus years, we still talk about Shakespeare and his works because the themes are universal. Any classical text for that matter, we take and we still talk about it because the themes seem to be moving across the ages, but still are very true about the human nature. So they become the classics and they become evergreen works of the authors. Imagine something like something happened in England in 1600s or even 1500s, which was written in 1600s. We still keep reading and appreciating it because that presents the human nature very well. Anything like you take King Lear, anything like you take Hamlet, we still talk about them because they reflect the human psychology and behavior so well that it is not confined to England, not confined to that century, not confined to that period, not confined to stage even. It is a true reflection of real life. And if the reader is able to understand all these, then the purpose of making anybody read literature is achieved. So it also, making student read literary texts also will help them get into the process of knowledge production by thinking very critically. Now, is this possible in my period? Does it seem to be very, very fancy? Like we can't imagine anything like Jane Eyre to happen at this particular point of time. But we do imagine certain scenes, but not truly everything. So some texts might be very relevant for us. Some texts, when we think about them very critically, seem to be very artificial, very frightening sometimes. Say, for example, you look at any of the texts that are analyzed for eco-philosophy. It becomes a very, very dreading kind of text for us. We will not be able to imagine the future. For example, you talk about Margaret Atwood's Surface. It is a very challenging kind of text for us to imagine what kind of dryness is existing in the world. So it allows you to reconstruct the knowledge about the world that you are living in, people around you, the ultimate intentions that every person has, and how selfish human beings have become. And of course, at the end, finally, you also derive some pleasure out of your reading text. And this is how literature teaching is also an enjoyable activity for our students in the classroom. Most of the common patterns of teaching literature is due to time limitation, as most of you have responded. It's like you have a PPT to talk about the introduction of the author, to highlight the main aspects of the text, to write the summary of the text, and so on. You generally choose telling the students the main points of the literary history and literary works of an individual author or writer or a poet. But alternatives could be engaging the students. The problems here that I did not obviously mention are that the students really don't engage themselves with the text because they don't read it. It is a teacher who reads the text for them. It is a teacher who interprets the text for them. So whose interpretation of the text, whose involvement of the text, it is primarily the teachers. So in that context, it is very important for us to engage the students in the process of reading. So what kind of text do you choose? Sometimes the syllabus is already laid down for you. You cannot violate any of it. You are supposed to teach all these texts, or the students are, by the end of the semester, have to read so many texts and have complete understanding of these texts to answer your critical review questions. So in that case, the time limit is very less and you will not be able to really complete the text if you are not reading out the major chunks of the text and explaining it to the students. This is a time constraint that every teacher feels. However, we are supposed to guide the students to get engaged with the text, in the sense they are the people who should really read the text, understand, and get into doing what the text is asking them to do. In the sense, the text directs the reader's emotions. If the reader is not getting involved, and if the teacher is intervening between the text and the reader, then everything goes above the teacher, but not the reader. So our aim is to make the students readers of the text, understand the text from, okay, some kind of input given by the teacher, maybe the author's background, the political, economic conditions in which the text is being written, and so on. That kind of information also can be taken, or can be something which the student works on and gets and shares with the class. Now, let me show you how exactly we can do. Generally, our understanding of literary text will involve understanding the author or the dramatist or the poet, the personal and social experiences, the time of writing, the social, political, cultural, and environmental issues that are being dealt during the time the text is being produced, the genre of the text, the literary tools that are being used, the figures of speech, the style, the diction, and finally, the student also has to understand the summary, write critical reviews about it, but something which is primarily missing is the individual response to the text. How do I respond to a text is more important than what anyone asks for. Say, I need to sit for an exam, understanding the text from my perspective, not from a critique's perspective, not from anybody else's perspective. And if I am able to do that, then the rest all will fall in place. Now, how do we do it? Let me show certain tools that will help you understand, that will help you take the text closer to your students and understand the text in a better way. Now I am reading some responses to the question. Learning literature leads to human or humane engineering. Literature is culture specific, sure. There is flipped learning that is dealt with by one of your resource persons day before yesterday or so. The semester system has really hampered dealing with the text in toto. That's true. I completely agree with you, Dr. Amit Kapoor. Now, let us look at some tools that will help us really understand the text within a very short time, making the students sit down and read the text without much of stress at both ends, from the student's end and at the end of the teacher, at the end of the student. We can also make it very gamey and engaging, very interesting for the participants themselves. So let me now check this out. Now, one of the tools that I keep promoting in all my classes is, okay, let's look at this. Now, in the rest of the class, I will be dealing with Animal Farm written by George Orwell. Now, in how many ways can George Orwell's text be taken into the class? If you click on George Orwell's Animal Farm in your Google search, you get different forms of the same text. Now, even if you look at the YouTube page where we talk about Animal Farm. It has lots of different types of texts that are available. Animal Farm talks about the summary, read out the audio text of the whole novelet, I should say, and it also talks about so many different aspects, starting from each chapter summary to the summary to talking about the allegory, the critical review, the political conditions in which George Orwell has written this text, and so many other videos. Now, of these, let me introduce you to one particular tool that can help you take the text closer to your audience. So let me share my screen. So this tool is what we call as TED Ed. All of us are very familiar with what we call as TED Talks. Now, TED Ed is one where you can involve your learners with the audio video text. So I think all of you are able to see my screen. So my screen is showing my TED page. I have created some lessons with some questions and reviews given by my students involving certain discussions and so on. Now let me share this particular text with you. As I already informed you, we'll be talking about Animal Farm today. So if I would like to take Animal Farm, what I do is to register myself on TED. TED is a simple one. Now let me also share with you. Are you able to see this? TED Ed. So I type this in the search box. So I get ed.ted.com. So that's the page, and you get this symbol here where you are supposed to log in. Now, TED login is something, the registration will not ask you to pay anything. You can log in through your Google account, which is an easy way to do. And your TED will be simple and easy to start your classes. So once you log in through using your Google account, your Gmail will allow you to have your TED account. So what you're supposed to do is to create a lesson. Create a lesson will lead you to a page where you're supposed to search for the videos. So what video I'll be searching? I'll be searching for Animal Farm related videos. So Animal Farm by George Orwell. Look at the length of the text that you find here. Are you able to see my screen?
Yes, ma'am, it's visible.
Thank you. So you see that there are different forms of the text. One is an audio. The audio of the whole book runs to 3 hours because the text is a very short one. You hardly have 45 pages in George Orwell's Animal Farm original text. And the same is taken in the form of an animated movie. So the animated movie can be watched within 2 hours. If you want to listen to the audio text, you can listen to it spending about 3 hours, 8 minutes. And there are other forms of the text, but this is not exactly the animal farm, the animals in the farm. And this is another movie that is made in 1954. So this is another one. But we are looking at something which we can use and discuss in the classroom. Maybe you can give the link of this to your students and say, go, come on, watch this movie and come back to the class the next day. But today I would like everybody to use only this animal farm and this particular analysis, summary and analysis of the text. So what I will be showing you is I use this particular text and created some kind of discussion questions. So to begin with, I would like my students to watch this particular video. So I click on watch. My students will be watching this video for 6 minutes. This, I'm talking about a 1 hour regular class that you have, something which you can complete. Now, if it is a text that is supposed to be read, I'll tell you another pattern of doing it. But as of now, if you want to give the critical summary of one particular task or text, this is a way of doing it. So you have the summary and analysis. This summary and analysis can really give a complete understanding to the learners from somebody's perspective, not the students. This is something which you need to remember. It's not the students. We are trying to give them inputs from somebody's perspective, which is a summary and analysis of the text. So this particular video will be watched for about 6 minutes odd by your students. Later, let's begin. So these are the questions that I have asked to begin from the first unit and other units questions. So who owns the manor form? What problem does he have? How old is the major? Why does he assemble the animals? List the ideals outlined by old major that should occur after the rebellion. According to old major, what is the cause of all animals' problems? So these are the questions that they need to read, understand, and respond to as soon as they complete listening to this summary. But this summary will be coming at the later end. The first thing is to read the text. So after the reading and discussion is over, the final aspect is what we are looking at now. After that, you also can give certain questions related to thinking. So what are the 10 commandments that are given by the animals? Now, how could each be considered as a vice? So that is a major kind of question which revolves, like the rest of the story revolves around these 10 commandments. To dig a little deeper, you prepare some other questions as well. The first question is, how do you relate Russian political history to this novel? How is it really connected to that? And my other questions. Okay. Then you have discussion questions. One is, look at this poster, observe it carefully. Does this reflect the ideas of the text very well? So what is a poster? Poster I have taken from Pinterest. So the Pinterest poster talks about George Orwell's farm, and look at these. So this exactly is a poster I gave. Sorry. So this is a poster I gave that talks about different characters of the story, and it also talks about how the story progresses. So I chose one from Animal Farm from Pinterest and gave it to the students there. So watching that particular Pinterest chart that relates the whole characters in a diagrammatic form, and I've asked them to look at how these are reflected in the text Are they very clear or not? That is one of my questions. My later question is related to literary terms. Look at the question that I gave on literary terms. Is Animal Farm an allegory or a metaphor? Explain with excerpts from the text. So whichever side you take, you call it an allegory or a metaphor. How do you explain? You do it using different excerpts from the text. You take the excerpt from the text and explain. So this one is related to Old Major's speech where he also sings a song. Let's read Old Major's speech aloud in varying styles because it has a song in it. Examine the song Beasts of England. What imagery is present? What is the message that is conveyed through the text? So I can ask my students to respond to this. They click on respond and start responding to the text. Now, would you all like to do this text? Do we have so much time to do this task? Okay, I'll give another task where all of us can get involved and collaborate our responses. That's how we can do a text, the teaching of a text using different sources, which in a way is a blended teaching. So you use technology, you blend it with your regular teaching, you involve your learners to respond to it. Each one of them have to give their name under their responses and respond to the tasks that you give. So that is one way of engaging your learners. Now let me show you another very engaging way of teaching literary texts to your students. Yes. Now, I have this, I've chosen, again, reading through history. I have chosen one of the videos that exactly talk about engaging the text. This is a right. So this is a video that I have given. Now I will be posting this Padlet to all of you. You can respond to the question that is given here so that it'll be easy. You understand how you can engage your students with the literary text. Now this is a video that gives an overview of the whole of the novel. I have uploaded another one in the next column. Oh, sorry, I stopped sharing, so you'll not be able to see. One second. You can enter my Padlet. You just click on the link and this Padlet will be available to all of you. You can see that. You can start responding to the task that is given. So what is the task that is given? in one. Now, I've typed a question based on this. Okay. Anyway, let's not bother. There is a reading text given in the end. This is a PDF. I shared a PDF here that talks about the, which is actually the first chapter of Animal Farm. So the first chapter of Animal Farm starts here. E-text, which is presented to us, and yes, Animal Farm, and it's running through. Now, what we can do to help our learners read the text is to give very short parts of the text. Now, if 10 pages or a chapter that has about 20 to 30 pages is a long text for our students, make it shorter, give only 4 pages or 5 pages for them to sit down and read at a stretch. That is one. In some cases, like the text that we have chosen, even that of the teachers come back and complain saying that no, my students are from the regional vernacular medium of instruction background, so they hardly have any language to really read on their own. So what you can do is to sit with them, ask them to read a sentence, explain, get the explanation from the rest of the class. So if you combine the explanations given by the rest of the group, you divide them into groups, ask each group to do a half a page length text, sit down, read in the groups, take turns, and start explaining the text to the rest of the group. So that will help each of the groups in the class to complete not less than 10 pages by the end of the class. So sitting together, reading with others, 10 pages of a text is not an easy task. But this can be enjoyable because each of them will be engaged in reading the text. They will also be able to come out with their own understanding of the text. In case they don't understand, they don't feel much shy to ask their own peers because that is a peer group. If it is a teacher, they will have a problem. But if it is a peer group, they surely will not have a problem. So ask the peers to explain things to themselves, among themselves, and that becomes a very engaging kind of activity. And the task I have given is, how does this particular chapter help you understand the settings, the characters, the theme, the style of writing adopted by the writer, the genre of the text? You can include, the list can increase. When you think the text is being written, this you can start even without giving the introduction to the author, the background to the author. Now, after after the whole of the class finishes reading the first chapter, then you can start talking about the author, the author's background, the time and place of the text. What is the purpose behind, what is the political agenda behind writing such a text and promoting it at the time immediately after the Second World War? What exactly happened as permutations and combinations of the political groups that started getting established after the Second World War? And things like that can be discussed before moving on to chapter 2 of the same text. So this will allow the students to really think, respond, and their response is clearly noted here. You can start, if any of you are familiar with Animal Farm, you can really respond to this task by clicking on Add Comment. So my question is given here. I just start typing in Add Comment. So everything that I type will be visible. End of the text, I as a teacher will also have a chance to give my oral comment about the text. So what do? I audio record my response to my students' answers and say, okay, you have done a good job. I think you need to choose another way of understanding the text. maybe you will have to have initially your dictionary beside you to understand some words. It doesn't seem to be a good write-up. Maybe you will have to improve in these aspects to start writing in a better way. So my feedback can be given in the form of an audio to the rest of the class. I just will show you how I can do that. Hello everyone, thank you. I really appreciate your effort in reading and understanding this text. I know it's complex. I know it took a lot of time for all of you to complete reading. Maybe a couple of you were not able to understand the text properly, and so your answers were very brief and not up to the mark. So I request you to spend a little more time in reading the text once more and complete your task so that I can grade it appropriately. All the very best. Meet you in the next session again. So instead of giving the written review, I can give this audio feedback to my students. My students will immediately play this, so you can listen to my audio. So I give this audio feedback to my students. I don't need to really sit down and respond to each and everyone's answers. I can read through all their assignments, and if I want to give individual feedback, I can give individual feedback by posting here, or if I want to do an audio text feedback for the whole of the class, I can do that there. So as soon as I log in, my name will be reflecting on the top of the box that I choose. So I click on this, my name comes here automatically. How did I log in? And I logged in using this name and number. So my name is already there. So my response to the task will be given here. So each of the task response with each name of my student comes on it, and this seems to be an interesting way of engaging the learners. All your students, you don't, we shouldn't be ambitious with BA first years or undergraduate students. Let us treat them as children, try give a lot of support, help them understand the text on their own, and that makes your job very easy in the coming years. So once they get into the habit of reading on their own, responding to the text, having their own interpretation of the text, the critical analysis of the text, you don't need to help them on do that reading and analysis on their behalf in the classroom. So the first year or the first semester, if you struggle this way, get them engaged with different texts, let them watch a video, let them listen to an audio in whichever form they understand, that's okay. Not a problem, but they are supposed to get engaged with the text. That is our prime motto. So in the beginning, if they are using different tasks and different types, it's okay for us, and we can continue helping them throughout, and finally they can also get into the habit of reading and responding, which is a major task for literature teachers. So I also have another way of making the text very interesting for the students, that is Storyboard. You can ask them to read one page and ask the students to pick up a picture on the storyboard, include some summary of what they have read at the end of the picture. This is how the whole of the class can take one page each and prepare the storyboard and exhibit in the classroom so that the novel is completely read by the whole of the class. I may not be reading. I will show you this one, which is a storyboard on Jane Eyre prepared by one of my students. So this is one way of looking at the whole of the story. They can pick up images, they can write the summary at the end, and the same procedure can be adopted for long novels, bulky novels, or texts that are to be read by the students, or even with the shorter ones. I'll not be able to show you how to go about with Storyboard, but that is one way of dealing with it. With that, I close. I don't have much time for discussion, but I'm open to take questions from you. Hello, Yasmin.
Yes, ma'am. We'll go for the feedback session. Questions, queries. Yes, Anita ma'am, over to you. Participants, if you have any queries, please feel free to ask.
Dear participants, kindly post your queries in the chat box, please.
I can respond to a couple of questions that are given in the chat box. Somebody asked me how to prepare a lesson on Storyboard. Every tool that we use online has beautiful, authentic videos that are that very clearly teach you how to use these tools. So the introductory tool videos are very much available, authentic I say, because they are released along with that particular tool being introduced to the users. If Google prepares a classroom, Google Classroom, how to use, Google released its videos. Similarly, Microsoft released its video on Team Classroom. So every company that prepares a tool prepares a video of how to use the user manual kind of one previously, which we used to have along with any electronic gadget. Similarly, with all the digital tools, video is also released by the same team, so that you are shown the screenshots and you're made to walk through the whole of the process of creating any lesson, using any tool for your teaching purposes. So that is an answer for you. Yes, somebody asked me if they should pay to download a book. No. There is no need. All PDF forms for older kind of publications are available for all the classics on net. So you can just write Animal Farm PDF. You get hundreds of chances in your Google. So you can freely download that and happily use the text in your classroom. Sure, I'll share the video with the organizers and they will share that with you. A couple of more questions. How can students access TED? You just give at the end of the, once you prepare the lesson for your class, you share there is an option of sharing with your students. When you share, you can also ask them, will be two options given. Do you want your students just to give their name and use it, or should they register for TED and use it? So you can just ask them to use the name and enter the TED class. So you can share the link as I shared the Padlet link with you. You can share the link with your class. They enter the TED and they start responding to your questions. Literary text app. Okay. Is it teaching? Chitra S is asking, please suggest any literary text app. I'm not very sure. Are you? PDF books? Are you talking about books that they can be downloaded from? Okay, all the institutions now have registered with one or the other international libraries. You can have access to them through your library. So ask your librarian what is that which they have subscribed to, say in Flibinet or Jester or any ResearchGate ones are also there. These are very common and very easy to access. But Google Scholar is also there where you can get number of books. PDFbooks.com is also there. Easy Books is one. Google Books is one. Number of websites are there where you get books for free and literary text for free. And if you have Kindle, Kindle has lots of downloads to read on Kindle. So many apps are there which can be easily used to read original texts. Sure. Whatever I have used as my lessons to show you are already there in Google. Can we use Menti, madam? Okay. Now, Google Meet or Google Classroom are different tools. Google Meet is only for video conferencing. Google Classroom is where you can upload your assignments. You can upload the text onto the classroom and all your students can respond to the assignments, quizzes that you give using Google Classroom. That is, in a way, we call it as a learning management system. Menti is just one tool where you can engage your learners to extract their ideas. Menti.com can be used only to get responses to a couple of questions that you use. And if you have more than 2 questions to be used in a class, you will have to use a paid version of it. So I don't recommend any of you to go for a paid version of any of the digital tools. Go for a simple unpaid version, a free version of it. So the maximum Menti can be used is only for 2. Similarly, you can make only 3 Padlets for free. Anything you go beyond, you need to delete the previous one and you need to add the later one. If you want to use many Padlets, that is also a paid version. So I don't suggest any of you to go for a paid version of any of these digital tools. What is blended and flipped learning? Blended is blending the traditional mode of teaching and also the digital mode of teaching. So you use different tools, different teaching aids put together in one class. We call it as a blended classroom. A flipped classroom is what you want to teach in the classroom can be given as a homework. You flip what should happen in the class as a home assignment and what should happen in the home can come into the classroom. What exactly this means is something like the student reading, understanding the text, which we think should happen in front of you as a teacher, can be given as a home assignment. Ask them to read some part of the text and come to the class, and the class will be only for discussion. So you flip the class that ways. You carry out discussions and home assignments, revisions, kind of things in the classroom, and major reading, learning that should happen independently by the student should happen off the classroom. That is flipping the class.
And thank you, ma'am. And that's an excellent presentation, ma'am, which would aptly guide every English professor to traverse successfully in this virtual world of education. Thank you very much, ma'am. And the dear participants, we request you to give your oral feedback, please.
Okay, my PPT will be giving you all the links that I have used today, so it shouldn't be a problem for you. Thank you all.
Dear participants, oral feedback, we expect oral feedback from you. Yasmin ma'am.
Good evening, madam. Hello.
Good evening.
Yes, sir, it's audible.
Good evening, madam. You have a wonderful presentation. This is the sixth one I have attended presentation. So I found every time your presentation is unique. There is no question of correlation from one presentation to another one. So that is required for each and every teacher. So we are very much inspired with your excellence and way of presentation, madam. So earlier I attended your online webinars regarding digital tools, and you made us to participate in different activities. And in this particular webinars, you taught how to use different kinds of things, and how can we people use the things and teach the things in a short time in this particular present situation. Also, there is no question of finding any kind of.
Hello.
Yes, sir.
Am I audible, madam?
Yes, sir, you are audible.
A very good evening to one and all, to the entire academic fraternity. First and foremost, a deep sense of gratitude to the organizing team for having considered in these times of pandemic, making our evenings, very meaningful, I would say. We have spent 6 odd days listening to 6 experts and opening up 6 different vistas to the newer horizons to our knowledge. So thank you for that. The sessions, each of the sessions have been excellent, and it has been a great learning experience, especially for those who are still like budding, teachers. I think this FDP is going to work out wonders for them. So thank you to the resource person of the today's session, and to all the resource persons, and to the organizing team. You have just done a commendable job. Thank you.
That's true. The organizing team has really worked a lot to make these sessions very useful for the participants. Thank you again, organizers and all the audience or trainees workshops. Thank you so much.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you very much to all the participants for your valuable participation and also for your valuable feedback. And once again, I thank our resource person. Thank you very much, ma'am. Now I invite Ms. S. Yasmin, Assistant Professor and Aide, the Department of English, to propose the vote of thanks.
Good evening to one and all. It is indeed my pleasure to propose the vote of thanks. On behalf of the Department of English, Congo Arts and Science College, I am grateful to our Reverend Correspondent K. Palanisamy for his encouragement and support to conduct this one-week online national faculty development program on teaching literature in the digital era, which started on 26 July 2021 and ended today. I grab this opportunity to register my sincere gratitude to our beloved principal, Dr. N. Raman, for his vital support and guidance to organize this FDP. I am indebted to thank our physical director and all the colleagues of my college. And it is with great pleasure I express my gratitude to our today's chief guest, Dr. G. Swarnalakshmi, Professor and Head, School of Distance Education, the English Language and English and Foreign Languages University, Hyderabad, for her thought-provoking speech on the topic, Teaching Literature Virtually. Thank you, ma'am. And I'm indebted to thank our physical director, Dr. A. Shankar, for his technical support on all the 6 days of this FDP. With overwhelming happiness, I thank all the participants from reputed institutions across the world for their patience and support given on all the 6 days of the FDP. And I assure you that we will keep up the time next time when we organize a FDP or a webinar like this. Thank you very much, participants. I wholeheartedly thank my colleagues of our department for their structured organizing work of this FDP. Last but not the least, my special thanks goes to our second MA students for their timely help and support in making this online FDP a grand success. Thank you one and all.
Thank you, ma'am.
May I?
Yes, ma'am. Thank you, ma'am.
Okay.
You may leave the hall.
Thank you once again to Kongu Arts and Science College and to the team of organizers of this FDP. I'm not very sure of names, so I'm not able to mention them very clearly to you. But the person of contact to me is Dr. Yasmin. I thank her and congratulate all of you for conducting this useful FDP for all faculty members. This is, I should say, one of the FDPs that has very good number. 300 plus is a very good number. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you so much.